I'm officially a part of Blake Lively's lawsuit. This is a mess. Hi, and welcome to Blossom Talk. I'm Kjersti Flaa, and here on my channel, I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood, working as an entertainment reporter, and a lot about Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and the legal drama that I'm more involved in than ever. Okay, so one of you guys sent me this email yesterday saying, hey, I just wanted to make you aware that you're specifically mentioned in the subpoenas that Blake is forcing Wayfarer parties to comply. I have a feeling you're going to be called as a witness to this debacle. Thank you so much for sending me this email because I did not know. I saw all the documents that were filed, I think Friday. There were so many documents, and I didn't have the time to read through it all. So I didn't even know that I was in there. So this is the subpoena that's been sent to Wayfarer and all the involved parties from Blake Lively's camp. So as you can see, you scroll through the documents and there's like 26 requests for productions, meaning that they're supposed to give them all this information, a bunch of documents, everything related to Blake Lively. And it ends with us from all the people involved from the Wayfarer side, including Justin Baldoni, obviously, and everyone. And you scroll down in this document, and number 20 says, all documents and communications between you and Kjersti Flaa. Really? Well, let's put it very simple to you, Blake Lively's lawyers. There has been zero communication between any of the parties from Wayfarer and me, including Baldoni's lawyer. I haven't spoken to anyone in my entire life, actually. So good luck with this fishing expedition because you're not going to find anything. And I was wondering, who's you here? Is that everyone involved? Are they all supposed to give their communications with me? And I looked through the legal files here, and it says that you is referring to Tara Hanks, who is president of Wayfarer. So I'm supposed to have spoken with her. Yeah, so the first like 19 pages of these documents, they are explaining who they're referring to in the rest of the documents. Like if we say Baldoni, we're referring to Justin Baldoni. You know, I don't know why they have to explain these things. Can't they just write Justin Baldoni and then save 20 pages of a document? Yeah, so here at number 46, when it says referring to you, your, or yours, refers to Tara Hanks and includes any persons or entities acting for him on his behalf, including but not limited to all representatives, servants, agents, employees, officers, affiliates, subsidiaries, parent companies, third parties, as well as any entities over which he has control. Tara is a woman. But anyways, I don't know if I'm misunderstanding what this means. Let me know if you have any idea, if they're referring to someone else. So in point number 20, when they want all communication between you and Kjersti Flaa, me, it seems like then they're just referring to Tara Hanks. I don't know. If you know anything about this, please help me out here. I'm just really want to get to the bottom of this. This to me just really proves how desperate they are to find a connection between me and the Wayfarer team, because they know if they can find a connection between me and them, they can prove there was a smear campaign. But the problem is they will find nothing. And I think now what they're really wanting to do is get hold of Melissa Nathan's phone, because she's the one that they tried to connect me with in that New York Times article that they posted on, I think it was December 21st. They said in the article that this is not the first time Kjersti Flaa has been connected to Melissa Nathan. They're saying that I was also connected to her during the Depp versus Heard trial, because I posted an old interview with Johnny Depp on YouTube using a hashtag saying justice for Johnny Depp. That was the evidence that they had. And they said that this proves that allegedly, they didn't even say allegedly, they just put that suspicion out there through that article, and New York Times let it happen. I'm so furious about that. If you've seen some of my previous videos, I talked about that a lot, how New York Times could do something like that. It's such sloppy journalism. They never contacted me for comment and then to actually ask me if it was true. So now Blake Lively's team is out fishing, trying to connect me again with them. So they couldn't obviously find anything on Jennifer Abel's phone because they had access to that. We know that they had access to her phone through that sham lawsuit they filed. Van Zandt, the company that they had for a long time, blah, blah, blah. I've talked a lot about that here on my channel. It's been everywhere that they actually filed a sham lawsuit to get a subpoena to get hold of Jennifer Abel's phone. And in that phone, there was nothing about me. So now they're like, let's try and find any connection somewhere else. I'm sure they're going to go for Melissa Nathan's phone and see if she had any connections to me, which she didn't either. I'm sorry, Blake Lively's lawyers, you are working overtime and you're charging a lot of money to look for something that doesn't exist. So what I think is going to happen now is that because they can't find anything, because they're not going to get any documents, no text messages, nothing. There's no connection there. So then they're going to think, oh, we can't trust them. We're going to go for Kjersti Flaa directly, me. So I'm sure I'm going to get contacted by some of Blake Lively's team saying that they want to subpoena me or they want me depose me. So I'm willing to testify and I'm willing to do it in Madison Square Garden, like Brian Friedman suggested that Blake Lively should do. I'm sure she's not going to do it, but I can do it. And I think, as Brian Friedman suggested, that all the revenue should go to DV survivors. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. The thing is here, this strategy that they're going for makes no sense. You have to remember the things Brian Friedman has said before, that it was never in Baldoni's interest to put Blake Lively in a bad light, because that would have meant that the movie wouldn't go that well. And as we know, it was a box office hit. And we know that Baldoni didn't want bad press for Blake Lively, for his main star in the movie. Why would you want that as a director? And It Ends With Us was Justin Baldoni's little baby. So of course he didn't want his movie not to go very well. And another thing is, how would Wayfarer and the team of Baldoni know that I did a bad interview with Blake Lively 8 years ago? Now it's 9 years ago. How would they know that? The only thing that they're basing it on, as I said, is that I did post an old interview with Johnny Depp. I didn't say anything bad about Amber Heard. I only posted a video with Johnny Depp talking about my experience with him and other actors' experience with him that I had interviewed. There was no commentary. There was no context even to that interview. I just posted it because there was a lot about Johnny Depp in the news, and I wanted to show my support by actually sharing an interview that I did with him. And that allegedly makes me guilty of a smear campaign. Another thing that makes no sense to me is that they never addressed this interview at all. So for them, they think that the way Blake Lively behaved in that interview was totally normal. And that's also why they didn't stop the interview after it happened or take the interview away from me and saying, you can't show that interview because our client wasn't behaving right or whatever. I don't know if they were even talking about it back then, that they shouldn't have given me that interview. You know, I've spoken about that a lot on my channel, that sometimes they will confiscate the interviews from journalists if they think that their client isn't in the best light, or if they think someone asked an inappropriate question or anything like that. So the fact that they actually gave me that interview and thought that that was normal behavior just says a lot. And that also makes me think that there are more interviews like this out there that hasn't been shown yet. I'm sure there are so many journalists who did terrible interviews with Blake Lively, and they never had the guts to show them because, you know, maybe they were afraid of showing up in someone's lawsuit. Also, imagine this. If I had anything to do with that smear campaign, how could I sit here for months and talk about these legal disputes knowing that I had anything to do with it? What kind of person would that make me? That would make me like a sociopath. I mean, how could anyone do that? How could I sit here and talk about this the way that I talk about it if I had anything to do with it? That is just absurd. But maybe, if you are a pathological liar or such a narcissist, that you think also that would be normal. But I really hope that people can see through this crazy phishing operation that they're out and doing right now. And to me, this just proves that they have nothing. And the way that they want to connect me to this is their biggest hope, I think, because other things they can't really prove. They can't prove that there are bots out there, that 80% of the bots on Twitter are unorganic, as they're saying. How are they going to prove that? It's really hard to prove that. And if they were able to have evidence, hard evidence on that, they could probably use that. But they haven't. And the fact is that Blake Lively mentioned Jed Wallace as a hired gun in her first complaint to California Civil Rights, meaning that she accused him of being behind all these bots pushing for her bad reputation. She didn't put him in her actual lawsuits. But then, because she hurt Jed Wallace's reputation so much, he ended up filing a lawsuit against her for defamation. But anyways, so they have absolutely no proof that there were a smear campaign. And that's because there weren't. But as I said, their biggest hope is to find a connection with me. Just to round it up, to say how crazy this is, imagine that they're trying to use an interview that I did with Blake Lively 8 years ago, showing what a mean girl she was, because she was a mean girl in that interview. I'm not saying that she's always a mean girl, but in that interview, the reason people reacted to it because she acted like a bully. They're like, look, they used her bullying behavior to smear her. Is that their argument? that that the public or Wayfarer used an interview where Blake Lively was behaving nasty to prove that she is what? A nice person that deserves to get positive attention? I don't get it. How twisted is this when you think about it from like a regular normal person's perspective here? It's so sick. Anyways, you guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. I really appreciate all your support. It means so much to me, especially now. And I need all the engagement I can get now that I'm being dragged into this more than ever before. And again, thank you so much for sending this to me, to the person who did that. I don't want to mention her name in case she doesn't want that, but thank you so much. I really like when I was reading it yesterday, I was like, oh my God. Anyways, thank you guys for being here, and thank you for watching my channel on a Sunday. I really appreciate it. And please subscribe if you haven't, and hit the notification bell. And yeah, I'll see you in my next episode. Bye.